calling all educators with a passion for teaching and a health for faith. Get ready for a transformative journey with the Educators with Oil podcast, where host Ronette Branham is dedicated to helping teachers become better through biblical strategies.
Welcome to Educators with Oil. I am your hostess, Ronette Branham, here to offer biblical strategies for effective teaching. Remember that where purpose is, oil flows. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a special guest, and it's exciting to meet teachers who are new in the classroom, whether they have been in a different type of setting, like Monique, our guest today. She's an adjunct professor, and she's in a classroom. We call that a classroom where we have elementary school students. So that's a different kind of classroom. So we want to get to see what it is that she has to offer us, or say insight into what it's like to be freshly in that classroom. This is exciting. I'm excited for her because I've been watching her for a while, and I've been listening to her. And she has led an exciting life. I'm going to let you hear from her. Really quick, I want to say, remember the Educators with Oil journals. Get yours on Amazon.com. The sales have slowed down a little bit, but I had a table today, an author's table with them in my school district today, and people actually bought the whole sets, and I was excited about that. I was worried they're just going to buy the first volume, but people bought the whole set, and that was exciting, just to know that people were stopping because they were passing by and they saw the title, Educators with Oil, and then they were interested. So just to know, let you know, those are still available on Amazon.com. And today I'm going to, hi, Monique, I did that fast. Hi, Monique.
Hello there. Hello, everyone.
I'm so glad that you're here. I didn't know, you know how you ask people and you think like they're kind of busy, they're doing a lot, maybe I can catch them on the fly somewhere else, but you readily accepted my invitation, and I'm thankful for that. So,
well, I'm happy that I put it on my calendar, because you know how life gets. If you don't have it on the calendar, it ain't happening. So yeah. I'm grateful that I put it on the calendar so that we were able to have this time to chat.
Oh, that's awesome too. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I put it in the description, but I think it'd be better coming from you, because you got a lot of things that I'm proud of. I'm just proud. Like, I know her, right? That's family right there. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have a sentence that I wrote back on February 19th, and I use it, and I have it on my desk, and I read it whenever I sit at my desk. So I think this is like the best way to describe myself in very short. I am a beautiful, intelligent, wise, ambitious, hardworking, God-fearing educator, coach, scientist, wife, daughter, sister, and friend. So that's a little bit about who I am. I think unpacking that a little bit more, I think we'll do as we continue to talk, but that's kind of a brief overview of who I am.
Oh, that is a lot. I like that. That sounds like a self-talk in the morning, right? Affirmations that you're speaking. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Is that what you use that for?
Yeah. So whenever I'm sitting at my desk, it's probably to do some work in some capacity. So whether that's doing like homework for a class, or if I'm grading something, or if I'm looking something up, or I'm budgeting, it's something that I look to remind myself of all the positive as I'm about to embark on something that I'm sitting at my office desk to do.
Oh, that reminds me of I'm on a call every morning. I say it a lot, but it's a live book read. And so one of the guys, we're reading the science of scaling, to scale your business. And so one of the guys, he was like, this could go either way. When you're listening to the book and you're discussing it, you might feel like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not. And he's looking at himself. He's in the gym this morning. He's like, I am enough. You're doing a lot. This is what you're doing. Accept that. Be prepared to scale, but look what you're doing. You are awesome. And so, we have to remind ourselves that stuff.
And Drew, my husband, who I'll probably mention a lot, just make it clear, Drew, so we all know who I'm talking about when I say Drew. When we first met, he made it very clear that if we're going to be together, every time you do something, you should have a why behind it. And because a lot of times I would do things and I'd be like, I don't know, that's just what I do. And he would be like, you should know why you're doing it. You should have a reason why you're doing it. And a lot of times, even as adults, we think that it makes sense what we're doing, but we have to remind ourselves, why do I do it? Why am I getting up and going here? If you don't have a why behind what you're doing, maybe you should ask yourself, why am I doing it? As in like, maybe I should stop. Maybe I should change that behavior. Maybe I should change that habit. If you don't have a why behind the things that you're doing, then we should probably reconsider it. So that's kind of like helps me to remind myself of my why on an everyday basis when I'm sitting at my desk.
Oh, that's good. I don't want to talk about my day, but I can talk about my day because that is one little, a speaker came today. We had a professional development workshop day for the whole district. And he played, I won't get to you, I promise. He played Michael Jr., the comedian. He played Michael Jr. And he asked this guy to sing. He was a music major, a music teacher. He asked him to sing Amazing Grace. The guy sang it. He just sang it straight. He sang it wonderfully. If you heard him, you'd say, that was fantastic. Then he said, sing it like your cousin got killed or something like that. And you got shot in the back and all this stuff is happening. Now sing it. That man sang that song with feeling. It was drawn out. He sang it with, you felt it. And then he said, first he sang it because he knew how to do it. Then he sang it. He knew why he was singing it the next time. So that helped me with my workshop today to, why was I talking to these teachers? Why was I giving them this information? Because we're all in the same boat. And so it just went from there. So tell me, so you're a meteorologist, right?
Yeah.
And so what does that have to do with being in a classroom, teaching a class, elementary school students? How did that happen?
I would say that honestly, arriving at being a meteorologist, I couldn't even answer that. So becoming a teacher, if you look at my resume, most people would say, oh, that makes sense. But if you ask me or my close friends throughout my life or my mom, there was many phone calls, tears, crying, journal entries of me being like, I have no clue what I'm doing. God, what are you doing? What are we doing? What's happening here? And so when I first was a meteorologist, I would say my first introduction to kind of teaching or being in a charter school capacity, which is kind of what I do now, is when I was first a meteorologist, I was not making enough to survive at all. Like I would have probably made more working at Walmart. I say that all the time to people. So when I was working my first job, I started substitute teaching on the side because that was the most flexible thing that worked with my schedule. I was off on Thursday and Fridays, so I can go sub on a Thursday or a Friday. And so I worked in an all-girls charter school when I was there in North Carolina working. And so that was like my first introduction to being in an elementary school setting and working with students. And in fact, the reason why I went back to get my master's is because while being in that classroom with the students, it was all girls. They all came from inner city, and a lot of them were first generation, so their parents had not gone to college. And so while I was working there was one day where the students had finished their work and they were all done. And I stood up in front of the class and I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And all the girls just kind of looked at me. And I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one girl was like, well, I just want to get a partner with my boyfriend and we're going to be good. I said, okay, finding suitable living is perfectly fine, but what are you going to do beyond that? I said, I see a beautiful face that is well equipped to do amazing things. What are you going to do beyond that? And she just kind of looked at me. They had never really been asked that question. These were like sixth graders. And so I wrote my college essay about that of, I want to be able to one day go back into a classroom and to be able to help other students to aspire. and to recognize and realize that they can do bigger and better. Now, did I know that I would be doing that 5 years later? No, I thought this was like going to be maybe like, I said like maybe in like when I'm 50, I'll go back, or when I'm 40 or something. I didn't anticipate it being much sooner than that. But God has a way of orchestrating things to send you back faster than expected. So
I never knew that. I didn't know you. So I didn't know that.
yeah.
And then I didn't know you made peanuts. I didn't know that either. You said it. You said something about that, but I didn't know. I would, we see somebody on TV. We're like, she's on TV. She's on the news every day. However often you were on there, and I'm like, I would never think you were underpaid. I would have never thought that.
Yes. I mean, even to this day, I have many mentees who still work in the news industry. And when you're first starting out, it can be very grueling. In fact, I would say my last job that I just had, going into news, I'm making more money now than I was when I left news 3 years ago.
Oh, well, that's cool. Because, and that what's funny about that, because we teachers have a rap for not, I know in other states, everybody's not New Jersey.
Right.
Like, I understand that. But I'm here in New Jersey. And I do know if I went to Georgia, it would be $30,000 less. I know that fact. So I do. But the fact that you actually are in the classroom and you're doing well is amazing.
Yeah.
Especially the rap that teachers don't make that much money. That's everybody hears that. Teachers don't make enough money to live on or whatever. So that's exciting. I
mean, it's a testament to like the word when it says, your gifts will make room for you. Our gifts are talents, all the things that we provide, because all of the various experience I had. So like I started at the charter school. That was one element. From that, I've tutored at Mathnasium for like at least 7 years, where I work with K through 12 students and I work with math. I've substituted after that at other schools. I've been an adjunct professor at multiple institutions. I earned my master's. So all of those experiences, as well as just my workforce experience, aided in my ability to say, hey, I'm worth this much. So regardless of, yes, teaching maybe traditionally when you come in, it might be a little bit more difficult. But because I was able to accrue some experience, I can advocate for myself. And the reason why I say that is because no matter what field you work in, I encourage people always to advocate for yourself. If you're amazing, wherever you go and you feel as though you've worked hard enough, you have the experience, the talent, the skills to be able to do it. When you walk into that room and they say, what do you want? I'm talking about money. When they say, what do you want, or what do you deserve, or what should we pay you? Tell them the truth. Don't underball yourself, because that's what I learned when I first started. I accepted the first thing they gave to me, and come to find out, clearly I should ask for way more.
That's funny. So wait, let's put this in perspective, right? Your mom is a teacher. Your grandmother is a teacher, educator, however you want to say it. Your brother, I don't know if he's a teacher or he dabbles, but
yeah, he's teaching.
Yeah, so it's that's a thing in your family. So it's kind of like you're in the family business.
I mean, when you look at it, that's what I said. When you look at it from an outside perspective, you're like, what does she mean? Why are you here? Like, doesn't that make sense? But once I went away to college and I was going down the meteorology track and I was doing journalism, I was like, I'm going in a different direction. And God was like, no, you're not. And I was like, but I'm going in a different direction. So it's funny how things went back, but I am so grateful that as I look back, how my grandmother and my mom were both teachers. Just from my life, I think I was able to gain so much knowledge in life through their lived experience as teachers. Growing up, I had a much different experience. I tell my students this today. Like growing up, I didn't watch TV, not because we didn't have TV. I'm not that old, even though sometimes they get confused. I'm not that old. We had TVs. I just didn't watch it because my mom thought that, it was important that we're doing homework or focusing on reading, or that we need to be focusing on our multiplication tables, or we need to work on our spelling. We need to be working on our phonics. So every day after school, I was either in a club or I was doing homework or I was furthering my education. I wasn't watching TV. And on the weekend, the only time when we had to watch TV was maybe an hour or two, because by the time you go to church or you go to your sports activities, how much time do you really have to sit around watching TV? The games we played were Scrabble. I go over to my grandma's house to this day, and she's correcting a paper that I have. Like, it's not even like a paper for class. I'm just saying, like, I'm holding a piece of paper in my hand that I write up. She's like, why did you spell it that way? You spelled it wrong. She circles it and gives it back. So you need to spell it correctly. Like, ever since I was a child, I've always been surrounded by educators in a way where I guess it makes sense for my life where I'm at now.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know grandmother. So that's so funny because I can see her doing that. Yeah, that's so cool. So, okay, fast forward to now. You were an adjunct professor. You're still not doing that, right?
Well, I mean, I do. It's just more of like when a professor might be on sabbatical or something like that.
Oh, okay. So, well, that is different. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's different than being in an elementary school classroom.
Yeah.
That's different. So tell us about your first month. You had a month now. How's that? Is it different that this is your full-time job? Than being a
Well, when I'm an adjunct professor, more times than not, I only teach students twice a week. I only really work twice a week, you know, in terms of going into a school, being in a classroom environment with desks and things like that. So I'm really just working 2 times a week or 3 times a week. So this is an adjustment to be straight 5 days a week. So that was an energy shift for me of like having to show up for 5 days straight in a row. Not used to that. In addition to that, being a professor, it's very lecture style. Now I'm a little creative. I do a little dancing, a little to add more pizzazz to the lesson. But overall, as a professor, it's very just lecture. Like, you know, I'm delivering the information. I might be going through some slides. I might add some visuals. And I would integrate some worksheets or some, you know, scaffolding into my class. But for the most part, for a college setting, it's very much lecture.
Yeah.
For younger kids, you can't do that. So and especially because I do intervention work, I have to think about what are other strategies that I can use to deliver this lesson. How can I get creative to, you know, push past just reading the text and delivering the details, but how can I figure out new ways to make this lesson hit home for the students? So it's been a challenge, but at the same time I like challenges. That's kind of like what I love. So I've enjoyed the challenge of every day figuring out, okay, how can I help get to this student? I also think one other aspect that's different beyond the actual lessons themselves are when it comes to reprimanding or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
In a college setting, it's get out. Like, you don't have to be here. You know what I mean? Like, you're nodding off, like, can you go? You know what I mean? In the classroom, I have to do it in a way that's strongly empowering. So for example, today, there's this one student I have who has a reoccurring pattern of she just can't keep it together at times. And she's an amazing student, very bright. So I had to have a really strong conversation, but I empowered her. I think it kind of threw her off. So I said to her a matter of like, you know, you're amazing. And the reason why I get on you every single day is because I see you being an amazing woman one day, doing great things in this world. So like I'm saying it in a stern way, but I'm empowering her and it threw her off. But figuring out ways to get to the students to remind them, like I have a student, you know, other students who maybe when they get frustrated, they're pouting, they're getting mad, they're walking away. Head up, chest up, walk in the right direction because we're going the right way. Like reminding them of their greatness and empowering them to, you know, I'm getting on them, but at the same time, like empowering them. In college, I don't have to worry about that. Just go.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So what surprised you the most in this transition? Like the behavior, of course, I don't know if that surprised you or not, but was there anything else that surprised you once you got in the classroom?
I think it surprised me that honestly, I surprised myself on being able to like manage it all. Because I'm very like, whenever I'm about to get into a situation, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know if they're going to like me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure it out. this is such new. And so I'm grateful that I have been able to manage it and not feeling like overly stressed or overwhelmed. I mean, my body is extremely tired by the end of the day physically, but mentally I'm not like drained, which is something that I'm extremely grateful for.
Oh, okay. So you can, this is when I get tired, is when I'm working hard, like you said. I'm working to educate my students, and I'm making sure I touch all these bases to make sure they get what they're supposed to get. We meet the objectives. And if I'm doing that on a daily basis, then I'm exhausted. So yeah, I can see that you can become, your mind is sharp, but your body is like, whew, you did that. So
yeah, actually, as you say, that makes me think one thing that I think has been a challenge is, so every period that I have, I'm working with a different group of students, and I'm doing intervention with a different class. So I could be doing 6th grade in the morning, then followed by 7th grade, and in the afternoon I could do 4th grade, and then I could do 5th grade. And so I'd say the biggest challenge is because I exert so much energy in the morning and throughout the day, sometimes by the time I get to the end of the day, I don't have the same level of energy that I did in the morning to balance in the evening, and so or afternoon. And so sometimes I think that it's figuring out a way to manage myself throughout the day so that by the end of the day, the students in the last period, I'm not just like, all right, and before picking them up, before intervening in that class, like, okay, what am I about to do now with these guys? Like, more so managing my energy so that by the end of the day, I still can be that on fire, teacher and ready to go with resources, support, as much as I am for the people that get me at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, I think that comes with walking in your anointing and walking in the spirit more so than doing it all ourselves. You know, we're doing it all of our own energy instead of saying, okay, Lord, you flow, you're going to tell me what to do. Then it won't be so much of an energy drain. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. There has to be a balance between our spirit and our natural in this calling. Because if we just, okay, I have the gift, I have the talent, let me use everything that I have, then I'm tired. I did that a few years ago. I was trying to prove a point with me in my class. We're going to surpass everybody. Watch, they're going to be ready for the 3rd grade, no matter what. They were all Spanish speaking students. I was in there and I was tired every single day. And I'm like, there has to be a better way. I was exhausted. When I say tired, I was exhausted. I had to take a nap. I don't nap that often. I had to take a nap every day. So there is a median somewhere. There's something in the middle where we can use the spirit and our natural strength, our natural ability. We just have to find and tap into that.
No, that's really good. No, that I appreciate you sharing that, for real, because that is definitely something that I don't do enough. I think, like, and constantly revisiting, going back. I start the day and I'll be on fire, ready to go. I'm walking into work, listening to my music, I'm listening to my praise and worship, I'm ready to go. And then throughout the day, I'm forgetting that God is still with me. And as I'm going through the day, it's starting to see Monique showing up more and figuring out everything versus throughout the day before I get to the next class and before I get to the next class and before I get to the next class, God, come with me again, because there's also new students that are experiencing a myriad of life before they come to me. So I need to also bring him back again. God, you've been in the room again this time because we got a new set of folks in here. We need to come back up in here again. So that's real. One thing that I do, and I don't think any of the students pick up on it at all, but I actually play gospel instrumentals in the background of my class, like in the noise while they're doing work. So I'll play like my gospel instrumentals. So that reminds me. Sometimes on my head I'll be like singing the song or something like that, but they may not know it's just the instrumental.
Yeah, just music. That's cool because it reminds you, because you see the title of this show is Educators with Oil, and so sometimes I don't know how we forget. We just get caught up in doing. We get caught up in doing, forget that we're not alone. And that's when we get tired. That's when we get exhausted. That exhaustion comes in.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time when people talk about that burnout. And I'm like, that shouldn't be a real thing with us. That's world talk. That's world talk. I don't care what you say. That's world talk because we know we're called to do it. How can you say I'm called to do it? I know I'm taking us off, but how can you say I'm called to do it and then say I'm burned out? That doesn't even match. Like God told me to do this. He told me to do this, and I'm tired of it. That doesn't even make sense. So we have to act like we have hope because we're acting like the world, like we don't have hope. We're stressed out. We're all burdened. We get into the little teacher's lounge and we're complaining. Everybody's complaining, singing the same song. And that's easy to do that's easy to do. But at the same time, we have to remember we're walking with this. Oh, yeah, I got this. I forgot to bring this today. But people stopped at my table because they saw that sign on my book. They were like, wait, what? That title is catchy. So we have to live it. And then we won't be so exhausted. So that's your biggest surprise and challenge? What's your biggest joy about being in a classroom so far this year?
I think one of my favorite things is in general, just sometimes studying the students when they're like, doing work and they're getting these epiphanies or they're successfully solving problems or the light bulb is going off for a concept that we're going over. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, like I just can't wait to see in 10 years or 15 years from now, like what this, bright mind is going to become. Like that's the thing of why I wanted to come back to the younger kids, because once they get to the older age and they're in college, it's kind of like they feel like they've already got it figured out and they're on their own. But coming back to when they're young, where you still can impart, those life-changing words of wisdom in them. I wanted to come back to that place. And so I think the greatest joy is just really getting to see those light bulbs going off and then just imagining and hearing them tell me what they want to become. They're these little 10, 11, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, 13, and they're saying, I want to be a scientist when I grow up. And I'm like, wow, I can't wait for you to become that scientist when you grow up. I genuinely can't wait. Or when they're reading certain books or you see them doing artwork and they're very good at it. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see your artwork one day, Lord willing.
Yeah, that is something to think about because you're going to see it. Because now, if I'm around New Brunswick, like at Wawa or McDonald's or something, I see my old students. And I'm like, what's your name? Or they have a different name. And you're like, I know you. You remember me? They might not at first. And then when I talk, they say, yeah, I remember you. And it's amazing to see. Like one boy, he was trying to explain to me why he works at Wawa. I'm like, in my head, you're working. You have a job. I come in here every day and you have a job. So don't discount what you're doing because you're trying to figure it out. I had it in preschool, so to be now at an age to work, it's just so cool to see because he's probably like 17, 18. He's not that old. He's trying to, because I was his teacher. He doesn't want to, they don't want to disappoint you. So that is amazing to go back and see them. Yeah. But you told me about your adjustment. So how do you bring real world, because you're a scientist, right? That meteorologist is a scientist. You're an interventionist. Do you teach science at all or anything that you have to bring to life, something that you taught meteorology?
Well, I don't teach science, but in any capacity of any subject, I can still make it relatable. And so I try my best to do that because especially as an interventionist, a lot of times, many of my students, they're not understanding the concept in the way in which it's delivered traditionally or in the text or however it was explained in the classroom. So my out-of-box thinking helps to make it more clear. So like, for example, and this not even being a scientist, it's just any type of relatability. Mrs. Tawiah loves chocolate, loves candy, loves cookies, okay? we're learning about fractions. I break it down like a Hershey bar. We all know the Hershey bar has different parts, and our fraction, our denominator, has parts. So that's how I break it down. So I find ways to make it make sense to the student. Or for one of my classes, I take kids to lunch. That's like one of my responsibilities in addition to my intervention. So I take my students to lunch. And for sometimes if the students forget to do their homework during their recess time, for a portion of the recess time, they have to write an action plan of how they're going to, or it may not be they didn't do their homework. Maybe they weren't following instructions, whatever have you. They're supposed to write an action plan of how they're going to not do that same behavior moving forward, why they did it, how they're going to do it differently moving forward, and then why they need to do it differently moving forward. So I've had a student previously where they weren't following instruction, and he kind of just wrote, I'm not going to follow instructions anymore because the teacher told me so. I said, okay, let's expand on this. You're old enough to write more details. Let's elaborate. So let's think about, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he told me he wanted to be a scientist. I said, okay, so if you want to be a scientist and you're unable to follow instructions right now, how is that going to pan out in the future if you're a scientist? And then he goes, well, I won't be able to do my experiments. Perfect. There's your starting point. We're going to add more sentences to your action plan. So I try to make it, connecting it back to what is interesting to them. And so it doesn't necessarily always mean as a meteorologist, but kind of make it interesting. Even my older kids, 8th grade, they're planning and thinking about high school and trying to figure out what high school they want to go to. So I'll have conversations about, well, what things are you interested in? What do you want to have? What do you want to do for a living? A lot of them were asking me about like the government shutdown. So I'm able to have some conversations with some of the older kids about that type of stuff too.
Yeah, because that, I believe, using real world examples like the government shutdown or fractions, the way, it just makes it real to the students, and then they can relate to it. That once they relate to it, then they can get it. Then they're interested in it. They're like, oh yeah, that's happening right now. So tell us more about this. And so they're eager to learn. But if it's boring, I don't want to say boring because we can be boring given just whatever's in the book without any personality, without any real world, real life experience behind it. That could be boring, and then they don't want to listen. They're like, I don't want to go to school. But and then you have a great job. You have interventionists. That is when you know their struggles. It's not even. It's not even. I have to figure out, does this child need help? I know they need help, and so to dig into that, what is that like? Knowing, so you can already, okay, they're having trouble with multiplication or whatever. I don't know because it's middle school, but they still have trouble with that in middle school.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I do grades 4 through 8. So it's a couple of different challenges. I think some students don't have resources enough at home to reinforce certain things. And so I think that, and this goes back to, I guess, challenges, when we're sitting there and when I'm doing intervention work, even though I may have 3 students, you may look and say, oh, that's easy to teach 3 students. But if all the 3 students are coming to the challenge of this math problem from different lenses, where let's say one student completely just doesn't even know their multiplication tables, like at all, where, I'm asking them, and this is maybe 6th grade, and I'm saying, what is 3 times 6? And they're staring at me for like 2-3 minutes. That's one big problem that we have, where I have to figure out how can I help that student. Then I have another student who's completely dozed off, looking at the train out the window outside, not even paying attention at all. And then I have another student who's doodling, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, do we have an issue? Are you just bored? Is this actually too easy for you? Are there other issues beyond this? So with the intervention work, diagnosing in a very quick time, because if I lose them too far, they're with the train and gone on it. So I have to really diagnose quickly what the issue is. And so if I'm noticing your multiplication is, you don't know your multiplication tables, I have multiplication cards. You're sitting over there in the corner. You're going over the cards in the corner. The other two, you're paying attention to me. One of you, you know what? How about one of you go on the board and do the problem? The other you sit in your notebook, try to figure out the problem. So I'm very quickly trying to diagnose. And by you standing on the board, now I have you engaged and I can watch and see how you're doing it. And then I can pinpoint where your issue might lie. So within the intervention work, but it's kind of fun to me because I like the challenge of figuring out, okay, what's wrong with this? What's not wrong, but where is the turning point of where are we going wrong with this problem, and where is your brain not catching up at, to get to the right answer. So that, and it's funny because when I came into this, I said, oh, math is my favorite. I love math, and I do love math. But when it comes to intervention work, math is actually harder to intervene for than ELA is.
Really?
I believe.
Really? I guess that depends on the person. Like, I am a reading specialist, but I'm better at math. I'm better at teaching math. I can show you every single day of a week. I can teach you one multiplication. I don't know what it's called, like 9 times, 5 times, 6 times. Every day I can teach you one, and you'll come back and remembering it because that's me. But I'm a reading specialist, and reading is not that easy for me. The only reason I did that was because I ran into so many students who couldn't read. So, 13-year-olds, like, could not read. When I say could not read. They didn't know their vowel sounds. One person didn't know his vowel sounds, so he can't read.
Well, I'll say the positive with our school, the reason why we may not face that as much is because we do wall cards every day. So we have wall cards where we go through all the vowels, consonants, all of the sounds of the phonics card. Every morning, every class has to start off with that. So we don't generally have that as much of an issue because the students are able to decode pretty well based on the fact that if they're doing the wall cards consistently, they do it every day, like every day. Now, what I would add to that is multiplication tables. If we could do phonics and multiplication tables in the start of the day, everyone would be on fire.
Yeah, I just laughed when you said that because we do that every day too.
Oh.
Don't worry. Okay, what you say. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't understand. But they're getting it. My students now, they're getting it. So yeah. But some kind of math facts every single day. We have something called sprints where you could set the time for a minute and you go straight down the list and then go on this side. Then you don't miss any, because if you miss, you can't count how many you got wrong or whatever. Then you go see how many. So we do that. But yeah, that's a challenge, trying to pinpoint the reason why, because there's reasons, and that's a whole other level to it. Yeah. But yeah, so I got a question about how does your faith, walking in faith, how does that affect your teaching of your students?
I think the place in which I come from when I empower this, like my words that I use when I'm speaking to my students, come from a place of, I say, you're here with a purpose. Now, that is rooted in much deeper because I, am a Christian. And when I'm saying you're here with a purpose, that goes beyond maybe what you're receiving from me. But when I say it, it's rooted in, I genuinely believe God has brought you here for a reason. I'm not going to say God when I speak to the students, but I say Mrs. Tawiah strongly believes you're here for a reason. So you better put your head up. We look forward. When we're walking, we are leaders. We are called to do great things in this world. So we walk forward. We're going forward. So when I speak, my words are rooted in that. And that's how I speak to the students. That's how I encourage the students. That's how I show my love to the students, is the way I refer to them. Even when I have my class affirmations and I make the students read them aloud when they first come into class. And one of my class affirmations, well, they're all, I will be responsible, I will be respectful, I will try my best, and I will be safe. Though they sound simple, that's me helping them to empower themselves of, I will be respectful, I will be responsible. And that means for your items, but that also means for yourself. That also means when you go out into this world, when you're saying, I will try my best, that's not just in Mrs. Tawiah's class, it's in whatever class you're in. That's also when you're walking on the street. when you're living out every single day, I want you to always try your best. And I believe that because of my faith backs me up in those affirmations. And I encourage that for all of you. I don't tell them all of the faith part, but yeah.
Well, that's cool because it is something that we have to walk in awareness of that. We have to acknowledge that all day who we are, because we are a representative of the kingdom, and so that does shape that absolutely does shape what we do. Sometimes we forget, sometimes we don't forget, sometimes we just get caught up in the doing that we already have to be equipped already to walk in it, and then afterwards we sit back. I saw you, God. I saw that, right? Because it happens. So how do you balance that? Because you're still I keep saying meteorologist because I'm trying to get it right. I say I just say, but no, how do you balance that? Because you're still on TV, right?
Yeah, so lately I have been just sticking to school. They've been asking me like every weekend if I can come in. But because of the hours, it's very difficult to manage with school and having the physical energy, and also to love my husband. Because the shift, I have to be at work at like 2 a.m. So it would be very difficult to do that. Like on a weekend, I could do it, but it'd be really difficult to have the energy for that and then also turn around and go back to school on Monday. So my plan is, at least in the near term, probably around Christmas time, I'll be available to go back. And then also like in the summer, I'll have a lot more availability to do that.
Oh, okay. Because I know the last time I saw you, not the last time, but in the summertime before school started, you still were going in. So so you're not you had to make decisions.
Yeah.
Is this what I'm going to do? I'm going to go all in, and I can't do both because it's not going to allow for the energy. That's smart, because some of us will stay. No, I need to be on TV every week, right? We can do.
And I mean, that kind of goes back to, so the past 3 years, I was not on television. I was not meteorologist. I just started doing it starting this past summer. And I said I was actually, prior to this past summer, I said I was never going back. If you ask my mom, my dad, Drew, I said I was never going back. But going back to when I first started on the podcast and I talked about my why, when I did news, it was never for, I just want to be on TV. I love public speaking. I think the mic and platforms are places that I just find so much fun and joy in. And I love the challenge of, doing journalism and giving the weather. I found fun in it. But over time, when I was outweighing the pros and the cons was getting real heavy. And so I had to make decisions of like, why am I waking up at 2 a.m.? Why am I, or why am I working until midnight? I'm sacrificing a lot and it's not panning out. I was working every holiday and not being able to spend it with my family. I was not getting paid enough for the sacrifice I was making. I was working every weekend where friends, family, anybody would invite me to a birthday party or even church. I couldn't go because simply I was at work. And it got to a point where it was like I was not enjoying my life. And I'm like, this is not for me. And my last straw, when I officially had left back in December of 2021, if I have my years right, December of 2021, no, 22, either way, 2022, 21, whatever year that I left, it was my grandfather's last Christmas. And I wanted the day off. I said, I didn't mind driving up the highway and back to work. I just wanted to be there to spend my Christmas with my grandfather. And they wouldn't let me have the day off. And I was like, well, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. Because people didn't realize all of the sacrifice. I was missing every holiday. I just wanted to be there for my grandfather's last. They wouldn't let me. So I said, well, I'm not working here anymore. And so that was my last straw for me. And I said, I'm not all that to say I'm on TV. Absolutely not. I think that God has called me to do more in this world than to just be on TV and be a pretty face for people. I have a lot more in me than that. And so for the past 3 years, I was in search of finding that. And now I'm grateful that I'm in a space where I can feel purposeful and make impact.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I don't want to take you too much longer, but I have come up with some advice to share to new teachers and new teachers in elementary, in public education. It doesn't matter. I know you're at a charter school, but with that being said, you already have your why. So now there's things that we need to add, because in things that I listened to you just now that you actually do. So for any other new educators, lean into your uniqueness because you're different. Monique is that affirmation, empowering person, and that's what she's going to do. And your students, your children are going to feel the effects of it. They're going to walk in it. So that's one thing, like walk in your uniqueness. You're who you are. I'm who I am. We teach the same thing, but we don't teach it the same way. We don't add the same spice to it or lack of spice, whatever. We don't.
I have spice over here. Okay, we have seasoning in my room. I don't know about your room.
That's true, but that's true. Add it. Don't be afraid to be you in your classroom because we're kind of afraid. I remember somebody said, a principal said they'll rather stand outside of the classroom and listen because once they walk in, and then I heard that, and then I did it. Once they walk in, the voice goes up an octave, right? The voice goes up. You're like, sit down. Then you're like, sit down. Like you change everything about you, but be authentically you. That's something I would tell anybody anywhere. And even if you're that happens when administrators walk in the classroom, but still let yourself shine through. I don't care who you are. If you have humor, use humor. Like use it. That's who you are. If everything makes you laugh, or you can make something funny out of something, and it's natural and it flows authentically, do that. If you have to get serious about something, I get serious. I get serious. My kids see me silly and serious, and when I get real serious, when we have a lockdown, they see my whole personality change. Like, who is that lady? Because that's my worst part of my job is the lockdown. Because I'm envisioning I can't have my gun in the classroom, So what? My boss suggested I to get mace and have mace, because I didn't think of that. I have some, but it's probably old. But things like that. So they see me get shit. Do not play, because I don't want any. They already know we're in the classrooms, So that's a whole other thing. They see my uniqueness come out in that, and so also give yourself grace. The first year now how am I supposed to do this? You say I'm supposed to do what? Give yourself grace because, well, what do you say about that? Give yourself grace. Do you give yourself grace for something doesn't go the way you thought it was supposed to go?
I don't feel like I give myself enough grace. I think that a lot of times Drew's coming up behind me like, it's okay. It's okay. It is a new space for you. It's okay. And I think coming from just a mentality of news is very different. The deadlines have to be right. No spelling errors, things like that, or you get chewed out. Like things are very different. Where I'm not used to being in a more relaxed environment where I'm not saying mistakes are okay, but like as the teacher, we can learn through this together. I'm not usually in spaces where we can learn through it together. It's like you're wrong and you get a warning.
Oh yeah. So that's a big difference. Today I did a workshop, right? On one of my slides, I had something spelled wrong. So I'm talking and this is me. And so I said, well, I'm gonna hurry up through that because there's a spell error. It was like a word I've been using the whole time, and then I get to the word written, and it's like I don't know what it said, but it's supposed to say newcomer. I don't know if it didn't say comer at all. It had two R's. It might say roar. I can't even say it. R-O-R, M-E-R, something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to fast forward this real fast. But Grace, because they know that I typed that. They know that I typed that. Like, what? Everything we do has to be perfect? No, we're human. So that's one thing we have to give ourselves grace. No, you don't be lax, lackadaisical on your work. Present it with your best self. But yeah, you can make mistakes. It's not going to kill anybody. I don't know anybody died because of a classroom mistake.
Yeah.
Because plus, how are we telling our students this is okay to make mistakes? That's how we learn. And then we can't make mistakes. That's crazy. That doesn't match. Another thing, find your teacher tribe. Find your teacher tribe. You have colleagues. We have people. Sometimes you eat lunch with different people, and you'll find who you can eat lunch with and who you cannot, or who you can do it sometimes and not always. Or there's groups like on Facebook teacher groups, LinkedIn teacher groups. There's tribes out there. Even in churches, our church has so many. I was about to say your church, First Baptist and Abundant Life. They have so many educators in that school, in those churches. So you can find a teacher tribe. And then I have two more. One you keep saying over and over again, but focus on small wins, because a small win is a win. Small win
is a win.
Yeah, you got through to a child, and you got through to him a little bit, or somebody was able to control their emotions because something that you said. Because we have emotional students now. Emotional students. I had 3 little outbursts Friday, and it was like, oh, what's happening here? It was about group work. They had groups to work in, and then each one of these 3 students thought it was theirs. I need this. No, this is for your group, but I don't have. So they were little outbursts, and they didn't understand. So you focus on small ones, whether it's for the students or for yourself. That's one thing. And the last one, what does Monique keep saying? Your why. Keep that why front and center. Is that true or not? Does that help you? Yes. If you or else we'll have that what we call burnout. We'll have that word that I really hate that word, because I have adopted it. We talked about a few weeks ago about having covenant with things. I had a covenant with I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I'm stressed out. So I had headaches and I couldn't function. I had to take off because I was in covenant with that. This is I'm married to this. I'm stressed out. What? No. Remember your why. If you remember that why, I promise you, you won't be stressing like that. I ain't saying we're never gonna have stress. We will. But okay, so with that, Monique, any last final words for us being a new teacher in the classroom? I don't care what it is, something you focus on, something you learn, something you want to learn, because this is it. You just started.
Yeah. I back to the why, because as you were saying it, I think this is just a general message of why. One thing that I've learned because of my crazy career trajectory, having a why is one thing. Are you okay with that why?
Ooh.
Because it's okay to have the why, but sometimes we have the reason, but it's like, do I align with that reasoning? Because in certain seasons of our life, that why no longer fits the season we're in, right? So like in one season, I was a meteorologist, great journey, transitioning. Now it went from full-time, my main focus, to a part-time side focus. It's still a beautiful journey. It's still a beautiful experience. I can still add it to my resume, but things have shifted because I'm also a different woman. I'm not that young, single, hot, muscular girl straight out of college. You know what I mean? I'm the married woman who wants to enjoy time, build a family, grow, pay a mortgage and other bills with my husband. So we have to shift. And so my why I wanted to do news is still there, but in terms of the level of which I devote my time and energy towards it has now shifted.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, you said a mouthful. I don't mess it up. But yeah, because your why could be something, because you matured, that why doesn't even make sense now.
Don't even make sense.
It doesn't even make
Mm-hmm.
sense. My why, I want to teach because I don't know what. I like teaching kids new things. Like that's basic. Or I want, people want to teach because they want summers off.
Right.
They want that. That could be a thing because I grew up with my parents being able to vacation every holiday. And
Mm-hmm.
I want that. No, but once you get a little more mature, that why it doesn't even work with you. It's not even
Right.
compatible with who I am right now. And
Yeah.
so you said a mouthful. I never thought of that. Am
Yeah.
I okay with that? Why?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, I came up with a why today. Like I said, we're talking to the educators in our district, and it was because of that, the guy singing. But
Mm.
it was a real thing. Why do I want to teach this? Why do I want to talk to them about multilingual learners? Why? Because this is where we are in education. Our demographics have changed. Students coming in, they don't speak English. And this is something that we need to talk about. That's our why. We all have it. It's nobody in our district who doesn't have that. I don't
Mm.
care if you teach general ed or bilingual, everybody has that in
Yeah.
common. And so, oh, I love that, Monique.
Mm.
So I just wanted to say thank you again I thank you for joining us. That is uh this was amazing. I like this. Um, I really enjoyed it. Listening to your journey, um, going from meteorologist to, I think I said it right that time, meteorologist to the classroom setting, from meteorologist to college to the
Mm.
classroom setting. Well, full circle because you started out as a substitute teacher, so that full
Yeah.
circle, yeah. So I enjoy hearing that. I really did. And I look forward to where you're going to go from here. That experienced teacher, that experience, that mature, I don't know what we call it, because you come in with, you sound like you're doing it right.
Well, I feel like there's a lot more that God wants to do with me in general. I hope He wants to let me see a couple more years so I could get to enjoy some life. And I hope I pray that I can continue to make impact wherever I go. I like to call myself a butterfly, where I make impact, leave a little something, fly somewhere else, leave a little something, and that's my way of leaving my impact on the world.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I would have never, that sounds like what you did too. But yeah, that's cool. So how can we find you? I put some things up here. I put your IG. I don't know. Is
Mhm.
that how we can follow you?
Yeah, yeah. Instagram is probably the best platform. I, I have a professional Facebook page, but I don't really engage as much in it on it. So definitely probably Instagram. So yeah.
Yeah, because you have a tribe going on too, where you post things and send us messages and inspiration, right? So
Yeah, I
yeah.
need to get back to it. I've been in a talk about season shifting and changing. I was in a season where I feel like God was speaking life into me. So I wasn't in a space where I wanted to be pouring into others. Sometimes you got to fill your own cup. And so I was on a process of God filling me up, so I can fill up others. And I believe God is now stretching me a little bit more to now pour a little bit into others.
Oh, okay. So I get it. I get it. I did notice that you were going a little bit, but that's fine. So again, I just want to thank everybody for such uh um sitting in at with such an incredible conversation with Monique Tawiah. Tawiah is how you say it, right?
Tawiah.
Tawiah.
Yeah, they're good.
I try to let I try to let it. That's one thing I want to say people's names right, because I'm like Miss B, and I don't like that because
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like that. So thank you again for sharing your journey, your faith, and your wisdom, because yeah, you gave it to us today, and that is that those affirmations that you have for your children, and that speaking, that empowerment, that's something we could all learn from, and I could appreciate that. So remember, everybody, to like, share, and subscribe. Share with another educator. These great episodes, these fantastic guests who are coming through here. Remember to connect with Monique Tawiah. So you don't have the MoniqueTawiah.com?
I do. I do have my website too. You can check out my website.
Look at you. See, I'm reading, and I know you had that. And so until next time, reminding you, this is where purpose meets the classroom and the oil flows. Thank you for joining.
Subscribe to Educators with Oil podcast on your preferred platform and join Ronette on this mission to empower teachers through the wisdom of the Bible. Because when biblical strategies meet the classroom, extraordinary teaching happens.
Educators, let's shine a light on our classrooms. See you on Educators with Oil podcast, where teaching and faith unite.